that we're recording. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's do a moment of gratitude. What are you most thankful for right now?
I don't know if I can say one thing. I have about three.
Oh,
Yeah.
you have a bunch. Okay,
Yeah.
let's go for it.
I am I'm grateful to all of the folks that helped me get to where I am. It's been a long 2 years, 2.5 years. I'm incredibly at peace with the success I've had in the last few weeks. It was a long time coming, and I'm overwhelmed that I see a noticeable difference. And I'm grateful as well that the universe and perhaps God decided that I could have this opportunity and I was not going to waste it.
Wow. Wow. That's huge. That's such a big, this is a big pivot point in your life.
It is.
You created it. You lined up resources and made decisions quickly, and you got results based on your research plus action.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was, when you don't know what's wrong with you and you're told you're relatively young, like supposedly I was and am, it becomes everything swirls around you and you're so, and I'll use the word sick or ill because that's the way you feel, that you can't put the pieces together. You can't understand. Doctors they want to help you. They just don't have the knowledge to understand what's truly going on because they just simply look at lab results and say, you're fine. Let's give you some antidepressants. Everything will clear up.
Yeah.
So, where I started and where I am today, it's not only is it a lifetime away, it's a universe away.
It's a universe away. That's insane.
Yeah.
That makes me happy. Oh, that makes me very happy. A universe away. You can't see from end to end of the universe. That's wild. So you went into this blind. You were like,
yep,
I don't know what it's going to take. I have these things lined up and I'm moving forward.
Yeah. I didn't have a choice because I was so sick and everything the doctors were telling me just didn't make any sense. And any woman who goes through severe menopause, I mean, perimenopause and symptoms are still bad, the hot flashes, the night sweats, the joint pain, but severe menopause and all at once, especially if it's surgical, such as mine, it is a minefield, and you get sent to many different doctors because there's many different symptoms, many different issues you have. And unfortunately, you just get pulled apart and you don't understand that it's really coming from one basic premise because nobody said the word menopause.
Oh my God.
And it took one day I was just so ill. I was crying all day because that's all I did for days and days on end, weeks on end, months on end. I couldn't eat because my gastro abilities just blew up. Anyway, so I just went on YouTube because I was just lying in bed because I was practically bedridden for most of those days.
Right.
And I was watching a random channel that I always watch about vanity. And then she had this woman on, Dr. Barbie Taylor. And I didn't really pay much attention because it had flipped into this video and it wasn't what I wanted to watch. But all of a sudden she was starting to list off a bunch of symptoms that women can have. And I'm like, and she started listing off all my symptoms. And so I kind of leaned into the video, and then she said, this is menopause. And I'm like, what is menopause? So then I spent 3 weeks solid researching menopause. And when I went to my doctor and I said, you've got it wrong, I'm in menopause, he
Oh
laughed
my
at me.
God.
He laughed at me, said, you're too young. There's no way. Your blood work's fine. You're good. And I knew I wasn't. And so then I
Sure.
just kept on my own path from there on. And don't get me wrong, it was hard.
Right.
I mean, it's been 2.5 years in the making to get me to today. I had to meet a
Right.
lot of people. I had to meet you. I had to put a plan together. I had to understand that there were more than 3 or 4 symptoms. I had to understand that there could be up to 100 different things that you experience. And I had to understand, could each symptom be a part of my menopause journey? And when I realized it all stemmed from that nucleus, I just put all my facts together and together and together until I was ready, found the right doctor, came with my notes, and I did not back down because I knew what I needed by then.
Right. But it was a research project. Then
Yes.
it was seeking out experts
Yep.
and bouncing your game plan off the experts
Yes.
so that you could say, this is this, that is that. This makes this happen, that makes that happen. We call these the mechanisms of action. So understanding the human body and what it goes through, the pain that it's going to go through, and everyone's going to go through this. But we get no prep work. We don't get this in biology class. We don't get it in university. We don't get it anywhere unless we go hunting it down in these tiny little caverns of
Yep.
knowledge. And you hunt it down, then you confirmed you had kind of a game plan in mind with me. So you sat with me. I think we had 2 hours in the first session and another 2 hours in the second session, and you were like formulating this plan. But
Yes.
then when you went to action, it was massive. It was 10 things that had to change.
Yep.
And you experimented with diet, you experimented with thyroid, you experimented with HRT. You figured out why you were feeling better on an HRT that's not really recommended. Right? So you were trying to figure out, why is my body saying one thing, the doctor's saying another, this other doctor here says this. I've got some health issues that need the hormones, and then I have menopause laying on top of it.
Yes.
Right? So you're like, how do I even get myself back, and can I thrive?
Yes. I mean, when you're going through the fire, and it's a fire, I don't even understand how women do this and don't talk about it, because
Right.
I thought I was going to die. I thought I was that sick. I didn't see a path out. And the gaslighting that occurs is off the charts. And when we talked,
You're talking about the medical gaslighting, or maybe your relationships. How about your relationships as
all of it,
well?
any male,
Yeah.
or I mean, I'll even say women who just don't know anything about menopause, like I didn't, or that are experiencing it but don't want to say it or talk about it. It's hard because you feel like you're alone, and everything's going wrong. You're losing your mind, you're losing your hair, you're losing your body. It's you've got aches and pains everywhere. You're getting diseases out of nowhere. You're melting down in the middle of the day, you're melting down in the middle of the night, you have no energy, you're crying, you're getting mad, or it is, and it's sometimes all at once.
I mean, we're laughing.
Yes.
We're laughing right now, but it is, whoa, not a laughing thing, is it? It's
not.
just like, it's ruining your chances at enjoying the next 40 years.
Yeah. And if anybody ever says this is a natural process to me again, I will. No, I went from being a marathon runner and CrossFitter too bedridden. There it is.
Right.
It's not natural, and it shouldn't have in this day and age. And I hope menopause becomes a regular word in Doctorville. But it's everything you are. It's your entire being. It's who you were, and it's who you're going to be. This has to be your focus, because unless you take the time to get yourself on a good path, you can't be everything you need to be to anyone else. And that is hard to take. I mean, I don't have children, but my friends do. And when they are unwell and cannot take care of their children, my heart breaks for them, because I know they're suffering.
Right.
There is a path. You just have to be determined, and you have to keep trying.
And sometimes we think this is just aging, or we think my mother did this, so this is normal, right? And you think, well, there are no tools, there are no resources. My doctor's just telling me antidepressant. How is it possible that that's the only solution? That can't be right.
No, it can't be. It's actually impossible if you really look at, if you take my case, for instance, because I had surgical menopause. I had one ovary taken out, and then we went back and took the other one, and a hysterectomy on top of it and everything. My body, as Dr. Taylor described it, fell off a cliff. It didn't just go naturally into menopause where, you get some hot flashes, some night sweats, the odd thing. I went full on into it. And other women who aren't surgically menopause still sometimes go full on into it. Everybody experiences it different, but it's not normal. And because we're not given the proper information, we don't realize how many just diseases you can develop quickly, because your body doesn't have any hormones in it to now support it. And eating tofu, which I do, but just eating it alone to support, to try to get those estrogen blocks built up, it's not going to stop you from getting osteoporosis, heart attack, dementia. I got osteoporosis already. I'm 53. I have full-blown osteoporosis because my body broke down from not having any estrogen in it. It's terrifying, because I hope I've got another 30, 40 years of active lifespan, but knowing that if I take a fall, I could break a hip and not recover, that's scary at 53. I wish someone—
And you could live another 50 years. So you're thinking, hey, I got to optimize this now. I can't just put this on the back burner. This cannot be on the back burner. And what women don't understand, and I try to put into all my emails, is that we have images of the brain in the 3 years around menopause, and the activity level just shrinks down to nothing. There's a period of 7 years you can't learn anything new, because your brain is remodeling. It's remodeling, but it's starting right at the beginning. So you actually are supposed to be getting your estrogen, at least, if not estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, in perimenopause, before the hormones are gone.
And for some reason, the professionals, supposedly, they're still going on this old school idea that, you can't take estrogen because it will cause breast cancer or heart attack, or all of these things that aren't true. Because basically the truth is, if you don't have estrogen in your body, you're probably going to have a heart attack. You're at a really high rate to have a heart attack. And I had an endocrinologist actually say to me, because I had to go because of my early osteoporosis, she said she wouldn't treat me as long as I was taking estrogen, because she said when I would have I would get cancer and die if I kept taking the estrogen past 55. So she did a bunch of things there in that visit. She threatened me. She gave me a time limit on how long I could take estrogen for. So basically, you can feel fine until you're 55, but then you must come up, feel terrible, and just shrivel away and whatever. She
And
also,
get all the other diseases, but she only
yes,
works on endocrinology. She only works on this little thing. So I don't care if you have Alzheimer's, and I don't care if you have sexual activity problems, and I don't care if you have cancer. I don't care if you get an autoimmune disease. I don't care, because I'm over here and I'm doing this.
exactly. So I looked at her and I was stunned. But because I had at this time had spoken to Dr. Taylor, I looked at her and I said, well, what's going to prevent me then from having a heart attack or get Alzheimer's? And she just stared at me and she said, well, you have to weigh your risks. Which one are you more?
Oh my God.
Yeah. And that's when I really, and I was so excited because she was young, she was a woman. I was, getting away from my male family doctor who I loved, but just didn't want anything to do with hormones. Fine.
Right.
So when that happened, I was just, so not only did that appointment go on not well, she also isn't treating me for osteoporosis because I can't have a relationship with her because she wants me to go off estrogen.
Which could be a good thing.
Yes.
Just to say, those drugs, the International Menopause Society is looking at those biphosphonates, and they do say it may change the structure of your bones, but it doesn't prevent fractures. So we have all these situations where we have drugs that show a change in your body, not always for the better, but they get approved because it showed a change in your body. So you could be sick from it every single day of your life, can't eat, can't get nutrients in, nothing happens, the rest of your body declines. Your bones are good though, because it was only tested on bones, and the bones are not even good enough to sustain you, right, from a fracture. It doesn't prevent that, it just changes the structure, and that's legal. But the estrogen is what you used to have, what used to be involved in bone building in your body. So that is, and progesterone and testosterone, actually, they're all involved in the bone.
Exactly.
So,
and as well as exercise, weight training, vitamin D,
yeah,
like all of the things that will
right.
help support it. And these are things you can do. See, here's the problem. Yeah, that's great. I can go back to weightlifting and all of the things, which I do again, thankfully. But without the estrogen, I couldn't even get
You
out of
couldn't
bed
get out of bed.
and do the things to help myself. So it was like this continual circle where no one was listening to me. I'm saying I can't get out of bed. Everything in my body hurts. My ribs hurt, my joints hurt, my thumb stopped working, my fingers stopped working, my wrists would burn and burn all day, all night. And everybody just kept saying, oh, sounds like mental health. Because I was so fit going into it, and maybe COVID times played into that. They were seeing a lot of it. I'm not really sure, but in the end,
Oh my gosh.
it was, I mean, it was, I can't use the word that I wanted to because we're on video, but it was definitely not good.
Well, it
Was,
sounds like insanity. It's insanity. You're
it,
like, I know what I'm missing. I had a life. I dropped the hormones because of surgical. I need the hormones back. Then I get a life, right?
exactly.
It's
It doesn't
so
take
simple.
long. That is the thing that
No,
people don't understand, that, okay, it takes a while to get to the dose you need, clearly. And
right.
to get optimal is not going to happen like that. But I had a noticeable difference in just stopping my crying within 5 days of taking a hormone. And in the beginning,
Right.
I wasn't taking the right ones. I mean, I started off with having to get the birth control pill because that's all people would give me. And
Right.
if that is what they were going to give me, I was going to take it because I knew I had to get it in my body. But within 5
Right.
days, my crying stopped. So I knew at
Right.
that moment I was on the right track. I just had to find what was the right medicine for me.
Yes. And because of my deep research in science, I was able to optimize mine so that I would prevent COVID, right? So that
Right.
was my concern was, do I have enough to stay out of the hospital, right? Especially back when we didn't know what COVID did.
Yeah.
We were like, it was a total black hole. So, and then was able to do so much research over the last couple of years. I was like, ah, this works for everyone. They can optimize their hormones because this one does this and this one does this and this one does this. So we know that these symptoms will lift with this combination, and you just use them separately, and you can dose up. And then if you have a toxicity, you have a side effect, you dose down. You don't give up. Don't give up.
Sure. And
Right.
for me, and this is what I tell my few friends that actually will like whisper the word menopause. If they do ask me anything, I will say to them, get what you can and then work on what you really should have, because sometimes a
Right.
doctor just will not or cannot, or there's laws or whatever that you can't get what is right, a better vehicle, in the
Sure.
long term. But in the short term, you've got to go out and you've got to try, and after you've figured out through a lot of research, talking to folks like you and Dr. Taylor and watching Dr. Haver.
Oops.
The thing is that before women didn't have a way to get information. And now you can get information overload all day, every day at
Mm,
your fingertips to find out what could help you or what is wrong. And I look back at my mom, who suffered greatly from menopause. Now that I understand, I didn't understand at the time. Now I do. They didn't have information. No one was telling her anything. So she suffered,
mm-mm.
and it wasn't pretty. And the rest of us suffered because she suffered. And I don't want anybody to have to go through that, because there's help out there. You helped me. Like, I know when I came to you, I had some ideas that I was ruminating on, and I had read a lot, and I had talked to many doctors. But what I needed the most from you was to figure out how to put it together so that when I finally had the meeting with the doctor I'd been waiting for, I was ready to go.
Yes. You had 10 minutes to explain the experiments that you wanted to do, and you took ownership. You had this list, and you were like, and I helped you kind of think through pros and cons on different things. I did follow-up emails with you to try and solidify those key ideas that you needed to solidify before that appointment, so that when you went in there for 10 minutes, you could say, I believe I need this. Didn't really have to go into detail to say, I need this, I need this. Even you had an agreement with your doctor. I agree, I will go into this medicine, even though you were hesitant
Yes,
before,
yes.
right? So you even had some agreements that you shared with your doctor. And
Yeah,
then
you have,
now you're what?
yeah.
You're 2 weeks from your doctor's appointment, or only a week?
I am 2 weeks out now.
2 weeks. Okay, let's talk about your results. You don't have to go into all the medical, but like, what percent of your cognitive health is returning?
I would say, well, other than putting my mug of coffee in the garbage instead of the sink,
Ugh,
um,
so
you still have those
you have a
moments.
ways to go.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is getting better though. I'm having better conversations again. I've been wanting to go back to school again, and I wasn't sure I could manage it, but all of a sudden I'm beginning to believe that my brain can learn again. There was a 2-year period
Aha.
where I was quite sure, one, I was never going to go back into my line of work, which is fine. We can all make career choices at any age. There's no rules. But I wasn't I was very concerned that I wasn't going to be able to study properly, because I just wasn't, I wasn't focused. I didn't, everything was sort of hazy to me. Now I'm quite
Yeah.
clear that if I continue on the path that I am, I can go back to school in a couple months. I mean, I'm still recovering from some major surgeries and I'm still have a couple more to go, but I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be able to go back to school. And I didn't
Right.
believe that until 3 days ago.
Wow. What a lift.
Yep.
Your whole life, your health is pivoting, but then it's causing um, a knockoff effect of a new intellectual life.
Yes. Hope.
Wow.
Yes. And I know exactly my path. Now I know that I have to be somehow involved in healthcare still, because I always was, but I have to also be involved in women's health. And if I
Right.
can somehow get menopause in there, great, because not that I can teach it or do anything with it. I just want to be a part of it because it has to be out there as an everyday word, just like any man that has a disease and would go to the doctor.
Right.
It has to be easily accessible, just as it is for them, because it's not for us.
Right. And it's hard because we live in capitalism, right? So the noise of CBD oil and the noise of essential oils and the noise of do it the natural herbal way, or the noise, all that extra noise is out there selling other for profit items. And the generic HRT is $40 a month or something. I don't know about Canada. It's probably even less. It's probably free.
If you have if you have a drug plan, I think the most you'd probably pay is about $12.99. If you don't have a drug
Yeah.
plan, it can get, unfortunately in Canada, it can get a little pricey, but I would have
Mm.
paid any dollar to
Yeah.
not feel like
To
that
have
again.
health.
And
Yeah.
honestly, all of those supplements and the people with their miracle stuff in the natural way, they're preying on us because they know we're in a bad state.
So it's almost like the woman who's always done things naturally, exercise, nutrition, the woman that has done that is the least likely woman to get the information about HRT and then some of the other treatments that go with menopause, right?
Yeah.
So we get everything piecemeal, comes at us piecemeal, and then our doctors, they're just doing our annual physical. They notice those numbers are not so good anymore, but they don't know how to turn it around with HRT, nutrition, movement, all that stuff. That's why I try to coach on any element of those things, right? Because that's all going to affect your health and wellness. Yeah.
And I mean, a doctor will start you off with something, but don't think that, and yes, it will help you. Almost immediately, you will have signs. Within days, you'll have some signs that are telling you this is the right path. But you can't stop there
Right.
because it's not one piece, as you're saying. Like one hormone is one hormone only. There's a whole all sorts of issues that we have to address. And that's why, you need a whole protocol, a whole regime. And you have to
Right.
figure out a doctor. The funniest thing happened to me. A doctor said to me one day, well, you should only need 1 milligram of estrogen because no one needs more than 1 milligram of estrogen. And I said, well, how do you know? And he didn't have an answer. He just said, well, no one I talked to takes more than 1 milligram. So why would you need? I take 4 milligrams a day plus gel because
Right.
I am an estrogen hog. I am young. If I don't take that amount, I burn. I'm not talking hot
Right.
flashes. My body literally burns. My wrists burn, my legs burns, my shins burn because I am an active person. It's what I want to be. So if you're an active person, there's a real good possibility you are not going to need the same dose as someone who is not active, doesn't want to be active, just wants to be happy. That's fine, but they're two different women. But
Right.
everybody seems to have this little thing that you're supposed to fit into this HRT bubble. You've got to get a close relationship with a doctor you trust, a doctor you've looked up, researched, read reviews, gone on the NAM site, make sure they are menopause ready, because when you get in there, if you get in with the right doctor, they're hearing you. You're talking the same language. You have your list as you did. We put my list together. You sent me backup material. I went in with everything prepared. Dr. Taylor told me the words to use to exaggerate. Wow, my hot flashes are crazy. If you just go without just saying, I don't really feel like myself, I'm tired, you can't. You have to be direct. You have to tell them what you need. And then you have to say to them, this may not be my dose. In 3 months, we're probably going to have to adjust it, because if I need more, I need to understand that you're going to help me with that. If I need less, we can work on that. I may need other things. I'm reading how these different hormones can affect me in other ways. Are you prepared to address those? You have to go, even in Canada, where we're basically told, having a doctor is a right, but you should just be kind and nice and accept whatever they give you. Don't argue, don't cry. No,
good girls don't complain. Good girls don't complain. That's the sexism, misogyny. That is, if you buy into that, you are going to be pushed under.
Exactly.
It's your project. You're the queen of the project, right?
Interview them. Like, I know you want your result out of the meeting, but at the same time, in your appointment, you're interviewing them. Are they the right doctor for me? Are you going to help me in the ways I need from here to when I'm, no longer to even be able to ingest any type of hormones? Are you going to take care of me? Are we going to build a relationship? Are you talking about the same things I am? You get in a lot of trouble in Canada. They say you're not allowed to doctor shop. You're not allowed to interview. Well, you know what? I have learned I'd still be lying in my bed if I listened to all of that advice.
Right. That are years of your life. You're talking about 2 years of your life that was muckety muck, unoptimized, underperforming. On top of that, they threw COVID. You're like, oh my God, this is the depths of despair, right?
Yes.
It's not a fair system. It doesn't work for us at all.
No. And really nobody cares.
No.
And it's very sad.
You know what? Well, here's what I heard is that OBGYNs get paid for babies and surgeries. So they're going to be very pro surgery, very pro reproductive age, and you can wither and die. They don't care. Yep. They don't care about anybody over 40. I don't know. They care about birth control. They'll give you that crap.
Absolutely.
Yikes.
They'll
messes with your mood and your brain, and it's just like, oh my God.
You want? It's amazing to me if you just say the word birth control. And here's the thing, I had to start with it. I had never been on birth control because I had endometriosis. Yeah. I had adenomyosis. I couldn't get pregnant. There was no reason for me to be on birth control. But all of a sudden I go into menopause. I have an ovary taken out. And they say to me, well, we can give you birth control, but we can't give you estrogen. And I'm thinking, isn't it the same thing? But okay, let's go. And so I just took what I could at the moment, stabilized my mental health. And then as that started to come, then I could start asking for what I really needed long-term. And I think I only ever had to take birth control for about 3 months before I finally talk to people in a way that I made sense, because I didn't make any sense back then. So
what you're saying is your mental state is not strong enough to really work through this, and you were basically under treated. This is the key. Under treatment is way more common than full treatment for menopause. So there's a big difference. And unfortunately, there's different types of doctors that could be giving you different types of treatments. So I try to make that clear for people. Even though the OBGYN is in America the least expensive way to get your HRT and get it done, and then you can push them into the other prescriptions that you might need, right? But there's always that talk about safety. You've got to have that safety talk. You have to go, does this medication cause weight gain? you know, what other problems does this medication cause? You have to go through all that. Yeah.
You do. There's a lot. And because when you have different diseases, your vehicle of how you get your estrogen you have to be more open to different ways of getting it in you. And it would be great if we could all just, rub a gel on our arms and everything's
Right.
great, but some people don't absorb it properly. Other people need it actually pill form because they have diseases like I do, and you have to have a more direct approach to it. But it doesn't mean you can't have a combo of it. Also, if you've had blood clots, you can't take it orally. I didn't have a history of that, so I'm able to take it orally right now, and I'm younger. So I'm not really sure. All I know is that everybody is different, and you have to work with your doctor to find the best way for you to have it. And sometimes it's a trial and error. Many things that I started with even 2 weeks ago, or sorry, 3 months ago, changed just 2 weeks ago at my doctor's visit, because the 3-month trial we went on together, and I say trial together because I had to trust her. There were still bumps in there, even though she addressed a lot of my issues. I was still struggling. And that I was like, I don't think this is right yet. Like, this feels all kinds of wrong. And lo and behold, we changed some of the issues I was having with the various different ways I was taking it. And the adjustment worked. It worked. Like, it was literally 3 to 4 days ago where I went, oh, yesterday I had my first full day of non-fatigue day. I went to the gym at 4:30. It's unheard of for me now. In the last 2 years, exercise had to happen immediately upon rising because I would have to be back in bed by noon. I was so fatigued.
Right.
And yesterday was my first full day, and that 2.5 years in the making.
How many doctors do you think you touched base with? How many doctors, how many experts like me, how many sources do you think you checked in with to try and make those decisions that you made on what the experiment should be for my body?
I went through at least 7 doctors.
Oh my God.
And as long as my current doctor is a doctor and will keep me, I will never leave. And away from me. It's not simple. They're not just, you can't just look in your area. You have to look other places. I've consulted with Dr. Taylor on YouTube. She does excellent consultations. I spoke with you, and I've jumped in on 3 other seminars that other doctors were hosting on YouTube, where you just sign up and jump in. I don't think anything was more than about $15, and you learn so much. I even participated in a meet and greet of 20 women that just wanted to talk to each other about menopause. And it was just, you all of a sudden you're with your tribe. All these women were willing to talk about it and wanted to. It was wonderful. Best hour and a half. It was just wonderful. So I've spoken to a lot. And yesterday was my first full non-fatigue day.
Wow. And 2+ years, 7 doctors, lots of online work, kind of stumbling through. You said the advantage to getting with me was you built an action plan, and you had a high level of confidence going into that doctor's appointment. And then you just shoved that plan right in front of her and got it all done. So you became an expert communicator on menopause.
Yes. Basically, I said to her right from the top of our visit, I said, I have my list, and I need to ask you everything that's on my list, or I feel like this was not worth it. And she was, and I mean, I probably didn't need to be so direct, but I was inside. You're like a duck, right? From here up, you're calm, everything's fine. But underneath, you're like, I need this visit. I need you to hear me. I need to get everything out. So I was very focused, maybe slightly too aggressive, who knows, but it is what it is. But I got what I needed out of it. And I went through every single thing on my list. And even at the
Right.
end, she did say to me, is there anything else on the list? And so I think she realized I was serious.
Yeah. She took your lead. You led the project. She
Mhm.
didn't lead. Yeah.
Mm.
That's the way things get done. But you have to have pretty deep knowledge, sadly. You know, you can't be a sheep. You can't go in there and think they know what's best for my body. They don't have a clue. They don't
No,
have a clue. They don't know your dose for HRT. They don't know what the combination's going to do exactly inside of you. Um, they know they have some guidelines, right? But then your genetics are playing into it. Your nutrition is playing into it. You know, your other drugs would be playing into it if you were doing other types of drugs. So this is all something you've got to take all these things into account.
yes.
Yeah.
And you also have to realize that every day could change. Every day of the rest of your life, daily, your hormones will change, be different. Your body will react slightly different. You may be more fatigued one day than the other, because unfortunately that is menopause. It's not going to solve all of your problems, but it's definitely going to give you your life back. But you have to be prepared that you're going to have to manage it daily. The medication is great. The HRT is going to do its job, but you have to be a participant in it as well. If you're not ready, if you can't handle, you know, that you're going to have to do some work, it's going to be really tricky.
Yeah.
You have to
It's
find,
going to be under treatment. Here's what I've learned. It's going to be under treatment. There is no way that these doctors are on top of you. For example, I had you fill out 159 symptoms and check off, you know, the intensity of those symptoms. And we focused in on the few things that were just like key things. And then we could map to the doses that you were taking and the products that you were taking. And we problem solved across that universe. But that's how big that universe is. It's 159 symptoms. And no doctor is going to sit with you and talk through 159 things.
they're just
So
not.
that's why I hope that coaching fills in that gap to take it to the level of detail that's really required for you to optimize treatment. You've got to name it first, right? And the doctors they're not there. They're not helping you get there.
And and sometimes I realize it's not because they don't want to. They don't have the time. They have 10 minutes per person every single day of every single month of every single year. And they just cannot. You have to do some work on your own. You have to do some research. You have to understand if menopause was a normal part of the talk, just like if you have a thyroid issue or you have diabetes, it's not an ongoing conversation like different diseases are, unfortunately. So you're going to have to do the prep work, have to do all the research. You're going to have to figure out things on your own, and then you got to bring it all to the table, and you've got to find a doctor that will work with you. I hope one day it's easier for people. It shouldn't be this difficult, but it's where we're at.
No.
And we're going to push forward as women, and we're as a tribe, and we're going to ask for better, because we deserve so much better.
Well, I was watching an International Menopause Society conference. I belong to the International Menopause Society because they're more advanced than the North American Menopause Society. But they brought up standard treatments, none of which my doctors have mentioned, but I have been using for 7 or 8 years. And they're like, well, we don't have research on this because there's not a good pharmaceutical for it yet. And we don't have, and I'm like, okay, you guys are 7 years behind me. I don't know what it's going to take. And then some of those, right, they only have 4,000 people watching those presentations. So that's not all the OBGYNs by any means. So it might take 20 more years for your doctor to figure out what these optimizing treatments are. Don't settle. push as hard as you can for 100% days with no fatigue, 100%
Yes.
days with no brain fog, no putting your mug into the trash, no putting your keys into the fridge. That
Yeah.
doesn't have to happen. That is not aging. That is not menopause. Menopause can be reversed, but we have treatments, not just the HRT, but extra things that we can do to try and optimize other hormones. I optimize 10 hormones,
Mhm.
right? I'm not just doing progesterone and estradiol. That would be silly for me. I found out through experimentation these other things are so critical. And then I dug in and found the science, right? So I'm trying to be a one-stop shop for somebody who feels complicated. You're not complicated, actually. By the time we only had to spend 4 hours together to figure out 10 different experiments that you would probably move forward on.
Mhm.
It's not rocket science. You don't have to spend weeks and weeks or 2.5 years doing research, or yeah, you don't have to do all that. I'm hoping I'm kind of a little bit of a one-stop. I think I had knowledge on everything that you brought up.
Yes.
And
And
then
if
I
it
tried.
didn't immediately, you would send it later
Yeah.
because,
Well, I
yeah.
didn't want to overwhelm the session.
Mhm.
That's the other thing, is the session focuses on you, your emotions, your confidence level for your goals, right? And so then I always know I can follow up email with science. That's easy,
Mhm.
right? And then you can print it and take it to your doctor, or you can just keep it, or you can just ignore it. I mean, honestly, we're trying not to complicate the whole thing.
I think it also, you have to go into them open-minded. If you're, there are some people who are still, some women who still believe that HRT is bad,
Yeah,
that, anything is bad, even, working on your thyroid, working on other things, you shouldn't be ingesting anything. Well, if you close off every single idea, you can't really be coached because you don't have an open mind to it all. You've already decided your path. So if they're coming to you or to another specialist, or someone who can help them, they have to be willing to listen to the help. And if they can't listen to it at that moment, to at least be able to pedal back later and
right.
read through the material and actually absorb it, and then look it up and listen to the other side. I'm not saying that any woman should take hormones. I'm not telling anybody to do anything. Everybody should manage their menopause the way they feel comfortable doing. But I hope that they will reach out and find someone who can help them work through the issues, or help them rethink the path just a little bit, or help them organize their thoughts, or even simple as, I know that you said, I probably can help you find a doctor, or well, in your case would be, which state are you in? Every little bit helps, but you have to be willing to listen and to accept the information. You can't come into it, because that's what happened to me back in the beginning. I had an idea and nobody would listen. They couldn't move me one way or the other. And I ended up on a medication for longer than I should have been on, because in my mind, I was settled. I wouldn't hear the rest. Then I opened up my mind. More came to me. Here I am today.
Right. So it was truly a journey. Sadly, the hormones affect the openness of your mind. So the sad thing, I think, is that women are honestly painted into a corner, because if you go too long without the HRT, you don't believe in wellness anymore. You don't believe in positivity anymore. You don't have resilience. You become a brittle, frail, uh, judgy kind of person who's really negative for the world. That's all hormones.
Mhm.
Hormones make us loving, maternal, happy, resilient, sassy. You know, the hormones own all these things. And so if we don't have that, it makes getting it really difficult.
Yeah. It saved my
Yeah.
life.
Yeah,
And
it does.
that might seem hyperbolic, but it's not. It's the absolute
No,
truth. I was
right.
bedridden. I didn't want to live that way. I had two choices: not live or
Yeah,
figure out how to get better. And once I learned what menopause was, it started making sense. And
right.
I chose the hormones, and I've been slowly getting better. There's so many different ways to get estrogen in you. Just saying that even if you don't want to use a gel, even if you don't want something that goes through your body, even transdermally, you can put it in other areas where it is contained. So then you can enjoy other things that you may have thought you couldn't do anymore, which I thought I couldn't do anymore because it was painful. But
You
there's
thought
ways to help.
painful sex was
Yeah.
forever, and it's not. It's all reversible.
You literally think you
Yeah,
can never do that again. And then, oh my goodness, someone told me, well, you can actually use it just vaginally. You don't have to put it through your body. It will help heal the tissues. It'll keep them the way they should be. Trust us. So I tried it, and lo and behold, ta-da! Wow. So you can have a
and it
partner,
was,
you can have a husband, you can have many things.
yes. Your relationships are affected. So which relationships, you've only had one day of no fatigue, but which relationships in your life are you expecting to benefit from your treatments?
Well, I'm expecting that the person that I partner with will have a full partnering experience. Whereas even up to 2 months ago, I was pretty sure that was never going to happen because I simply could not do that anymore. And I wasn't going to subject anybody to have to live like that. It is beyond what a person can comprehend here's the thing, to tell you or the world or anybody that you have to give up having an intimate relationship with somebody because your body no longer is able to, you don't even realize how devastating it is, because you try to not go there. You try to say it. It is what it is. It's a fact. I'm in menopause. I can't do that anymore. But in all honesty, when you realize that you actually can, it's like a weight just lifts off your shoulder. You no longer, you're not sad about it anymore. You're not accepting your fate anymore. You realize you can live like a regular woman would want to. And
Right.
you need a moment by yourself in the bathroom after you realize that it's better, because you just collapse. You're like, oh my gosh.
It's like, this is going to change your life.
Yep.
So, and people don't, their mothers don't tell them.
No.
Your mother's not going to say, sweetheart, this is coming. This is going to be a big issue. We're going to get on it right away. You're not going to feel like even working on it. I'm going to get you to the doctor. I mean, that's the ideal world where mom just notices, something's going on, and says, it's your time. We need to get you the help that you need, and we need to help you. I mean, but most of us are alone in our health and alone in our journey and the experience. So I'm hoping to change that.
I hope you do too. I hope you reach many thousands and thousands of women. Even if you reach one, which was me, that's amazing. That's already, to me, the world. But I hope thousands can benefit, because they deserve to. We all deserve to. And we need to prop each other up, and we need to help each other. and our husbands need us to get better. Our families need us to get better. We can't help our families, if we don't help ourselves first. And I know that's a reversal of thought, that it should be the family first and you last, but you cannot do that if you are not firing on all of the cylinders you had the day before you went into perimenopause or menopause. It's just a fact.
There's even a thought there that the married woman with children and a husband, active husband, will get less help than a single woman who can put some time aside and focus. The single woman says, I only have myself. I need to go figure this out in order to thrive, have a future income, have future happiness, maybe have a future partner, right? So
Yes.
you're thinking, my entire future is open in front of me and I'm not looking forward to it. And I want to turn this all around and be who I was. There's no reason I can't be. So you're serving as a model right now. And I'm hoping I'm serving as a model. I keep saying I'm 65 years old. I've been at HRT now for 15 years now. So I would not be alive without HRT. My mother died at 60.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So I had nobody to kind of give me a path or tell me this was coming, but I watched her die. So sadly, that was my lesson. So that was my lesson. Like I was about 25 and I watched her go and I was like, something is bad. Something really bad is happening at this age 50. So
yeah,
so
it seems to be the magic number 50. Although I went into perimenopause. Looking back, I went into it in my late 30s. Because I remember the day I had my first night sweat.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, I still remember that. And I remember that it was funny to everybody, but it wasn't funny to me.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Horrible.
Because when we're young, we don't really, I don't know, we kind of laugh at each other versus.
Sure.
And had I known, I mean, now I know that that was a night sweat. At the time, I knew I was sweating, but I didn't know why I woke up in a pool of, water, and why I had to get changed and why I had to put a towel down. I mean, it was one night. It didn't come back again for months. But looking back, believe I was 37 or 38 that first time. It can happen early, and because we don't teach the signs, we just, you go and you get your teeth cleaned, because that's preventative. Like every 3 months or 6 months, you get your teeth cleaned. But when you go for your yearly checkup at the doctor, he doesn't say, have you had a night sweat or a hot flash or anything like that? Because if any of that happens, you need to talk to me so we can get you, stabilized, or get you talking to somebody that could be beneficial. None of that happens. It is interesting, and it's just simple questions, and it should be normalized.
Yes.
Absolutely normalized, and it's just
Right.
not. We're just going to have to push until we get there, because I am a living example of walking through the fire, pretty much thinking my life was over, literally, and every kind of doctor telling me I had every other thing wrong with me than the one thing that could have brought me back to life. It has now, but I've been on both ends. I've been where it's just too overwhelming, and now I've been here, and I pick here.
Right.
This is amazing.
And you took the time to do baseline research, and then you selected experts to work with. So that makes you really different. Just so you know, a lot of women never get to that action step of talking to an expert. So what was going on in your head that made you set up something with Barbie Taylor and then later set up something with me? What was going on in your head that actually headed you that direction instead of struggling hit or miss with your doctor?
Well, the one thing that held me back in the beginning was money, because everything costs money. And during COVID, there wasn't a lot of money to go around.
Right.
And to be honest, because I'm Canadian, everything that I would have had to purchase would have been in American dollars. So it's even more for me. And I don't have that kind of money. So I, in the beginning, did not. So what I did was I just watched everything that I could, and then followed the advice. You give lots of advice. She gets lots of advice. Dr. Haver gives tons of advice. There are many. There's some UK OBGYNs on YouTube and Instagram that give great advice. If you're just willing to listen, you can get tons of information. And I took that to my doctors, but that alone wasn't enough because I didn't know how to talk the talk. I had watched all the information and it was swirling around in my mind, but I didn't have anybody to back me up. I didn't have anybody to train me. I didn't have anybody to basically school me before I walked in, because I thought my doctors would just understand. So then what I did is I realized, well, I can either scrape together this money and do this, or I'm going to die. And I'm spending all of this money on lotions and potions. I mean, I probably had a freezer full of tofu. I had every herb and supplement on my countertop. So I was willing to spend that money. I was willing to drink some red wine, anything to numb what was going on. I'd spent the money on that. So then I just decided, you got to spend the money. You just have to, because you have to find out. And you know, it was expensive. And you had to pick and choose what you were going to do there for a few months, whether you're going to go to see this doctor online or if you were going to, you know, buy some groceries. But for me, it worked. For me, it was the best money I ever spent, because it gave me the talking points. It gave me, you both have schooled me. You can't, it's just like all of a sudden you're born, you go through life. If you don't go to school, how do you talk to people? How do you function? How do you get a job? How do you do anything? You have to learn. You have to be a student of some kind. You have to be willing to be taught how to get what you need. And once I was given the language, once I was given the understanding, once I was given Dr. Barbie Taylor, Menopause Taylor, she will give you all of the information on your body, what your body's doing. She can read your labs, she can read your x-rays, she can read your ultrasounds, she goes through all of your complaints, she goes through all of your mental, everything, mental, physical. She will go through all of it and explain to you what's happening in your body. What you will do is you will help us to understand how to put it all together and how to pull the information from different sources and how to construct it in a way where you're going into your doctor's visits or you're just beginning your menopause journey, you can have goals and objectives to get to. So whichever route you pick, wherever you are, you may have to do what you don't want to do, and that's spend a little money, but you're going to get tools that you wouldn't have. You gave me a toolbox. Dr. Taylor gave me medical information, and then I put the two together and I went forward, and here I am. And even after just seeing Dr. Taylor, I knew I wasn't quite there yet. I needed just a bit more. I needed a bit more construction. I needed a bit more, do you know the word I'm trying to search for?
You're kind of hinting towards organization.
Yes.
And prioritization.
Yes.
So the type of interviewing skill I have, which is board certified, is to help you kind of unfold all of your thinking. And when we unfold everything, we create this beautiful supportive environment. And we're trying to find your strengths, and your beliefs are supposed to be exposed and revealed in that beautiful, safe coaching place. And then I'm going to review everything and say, what is the most important thing
You
and then
prioritize for,
you
yes,
can
you help us
rush.
do that. Yeah.
Because it's all been exposed for what it is, and you've gotten rid of some obstacles in your beliefs, right, that are slowing you down. And
Mhm.
then we pull together. I'm going to ask you what's most important, but when I do that, you pick one thing, but the other things line up. So it's magic. It's just like a magical thing that somebody, it's such a big project when you look at it by yourself. But when you
Overwhelming.
you speak your truth to somebody and someone's really listening. So listening is my number one job. And then just asking the right questions and then giving you science support wherever you need it. Right. I'm not giving you my whole complete background. Right. But giving you the science when you need it. So it's just in time. It's just, everything's just in time. Then you can walk into that appointment. You are organized because you got to release all those negative emotions, and you got to release all those beliefs that weren't serving you. And then from there, you can go to action like that.
The interesting thing you said to me in our first discussion was, it wasn't even about what we were talking about. It was, what do you believe you can get done in the next 2 weeks? And that made me realize that it is action required. It is not just sitting around talking about it and then going, because you do feel overwhelmed, you do feel helpless, you are under an emotional duress. If we're coming to you, we're hurting.
Yeah.
But at the same time, what you did is you brought it all down to, this is still about action. This isn't just for you to tell me your problems for 2 hours. It is, but in the end, we've got to have some action. So what can you do within the next 2 weeks? And that's when I realized, oh, right, I see what she's saying. And that's why the next time I had my visit with you, I came with my game. I came with what I felt like I needed to focus on. And then you helped me put all that together, because I knew that you were action forward, just action, about action.
Yeah. Action plans, it's a last step in the long coaching process. So you have to download your whole experience, honestly, to let go. So having somebody who's like me, who's an expert, who can just listen to that download and process and correct the tiny little things that need to be corrected. But most people are on target. They just haven't prioritized it all and then figured out, 2 weeks. I could be better in 2 weeks. Holy smoke. She put that in my head. And it's like, yeah, that's all we care about is your next step. Make it a big one. Make it work.
It has to be a big one. To make a difference, it has to be a big one.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I love that you were so aware of what was really opening you up and what was moving you forward in a system that's broken from COVID. It's broken. I mean,
yeah, we're never going to go back to the way we were. It is completely dismantled. It's a mess. Here in my province, healthcare is all over the map now. There are no surgeries still. There are no, everything is a mess. So we're trying, if you get hit by a bus, you're going to get immediate attention. Well, we feel like we've been hit by a bus, but no one's paying attention to us because the resources are just not there. So this is, you've got to figure out how to become a warrior. And it's tough. And when we come to you, oh my gosh, some of us can't even form sentences. I'm spewing out words. They don't make sense. Our brain is in a total fog, and we're trying to tell you, but we can't even get it out. So then there's a little bit of embarrassment. There's a little bit of confusion. And that's hard for women because we're used to handling it all. We're used to multitasking. We're used to taking care of everybody. We're used to working at the same time as taking care of everybody and the house and the yard and the schedules. And it's very difficult to admit that you're struggling. Some women just don't want to. I was one of them. I did not want to admit it. And I held on to who I was the day before my first ovary came out. I somehow in my mind, I thought I could get back to her if I just stopped the madness in my head, but I didn't realize that there was so much involved in that. And there was a lot of embarrassment and shame. I didn't want to see people. I didn't want to go out. I closed walls around me because I didn't want anybody to see me the way I was. There's so much involved. There's
Melody, that is every menopausal woman. That is every single one. They don't want to admit that their social circle just shrinks down because their body is just cracking up and their mood is destroyed. So they see all this and they say, oh, it's natural change. No, it's reversible change.
And there are some women who don't really have symptoms. They're obviously in menopause. They don't have any actual full-blown symptoms and they don't know. And the problem with that, which is great, I mean, oh my God, I'm so jealous. But the problem with that too is that they don't realize their diseases could come on very quickly because they're the ones especially that are not seeking treatment. Right. So they're clearly in postmenopause. All of the blood tests show that everything, they haven't had a menstrual cycle in over a year. They're there, but they have no symptoms and they think, well, I'm just fine. You should be fine. I'm fine. You're not fine. Now your whole body is open to Alzheimer's, heart attack, osteoporosis, all of arthritis, all of these things can just start building in your body. And people say, oh, that's just old age. Well, actually, some of this can be prevented or delayed for a very long time.
And reversed.
Yes.
I'm still hopeful. I think there are magical things out there for us. But you've got to be reading the anti-aging stuff. You've got to be reading the mechanisms of action. I mean, I try to pull all this together so people can see. You and I have both explored light therapy, and it is just now hitting YouTube. And I've been doing it since 2017. So I'm watching the world open up to light therapy and the power of it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, now I've got a book this thick on the brain and light therapy. And I've read the entire thing and I'm like, ding, 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 doing it. This is $7,000 well spent for me. I mean, it's just, and in fact, I have some in Ohio and some in Austin. So I'm just like, oh, this pays for itself, hands down. This will work.
I think red light therapy, even just first thing in the morning, getting light into your eyes as soon as, if you're lucky to have light when you wake up. Here in my province, we don't have light until about 8 a.m. So that's not doable. But in the summer, spring, fall, it is doable. Get up, get light in your eyes. Red light therapy is fabulous. I would be bald 100% if I did not invest in a red light therapy helmet.
Right.
It took a year. And after a year, I had an inch of growth, maybe even 2 inches all around the top of my head. I was covered in bald spots because when I didn't know I was in menopause or my body, obviously I was, but no one told me I was, my hair was falling in clumps. And it was devastating. That's another reason why I didn't want to see people. It was horrible, but red light brought my head back. I mean, there's still some ups and downs as I try new protocols, other things happen. So my hair is always going to be an ongoing battle, but wow, every other day for the last year and a half saved me. And also, if I can't get light in my eyes when I wake up, I put red light on me first thing in the morning. I just basically cover myself from here to here as soon as I wake up, and I leave that on for 10 minutes. And it's like, oh, I love it. It's long-term. Yeah, it's some money up front, but it's long-term benefits that it's going to be around for years. You're going to have access to it every day right there in your home.
And it's even possible the fact that we're surrounded by electrical magnetic activity with all of our Wi-Fi and Bluetooth and all of that stuff. It's going to be possible that we all need it every day. Every day.
Yeah,
It's just
not
so
for us.
beneficial for reversing. You know, even they say our screen time is causing a combination of ADHD, the lack of self-compassion, and then the lack of compassion for others. So we are losing ourselves with all this technology. So we may need technology to be added back. You
See,
know,
here we are, we're on like Zoom. And this
Yeah.
is a miracle that we have Zoom, right? Because we can be in 2 different countries and we can do this, whereas that wasn't an option before. But because of Zoom, it's created all sorts of really bad problems. So now women have this dysmorphia effect, you know, like
Right.
I can't look at myself on this side of the screen. I can only look at you, because if I do that, I'll go, oh, my hair's falling out over there now, or oh, my skin's sagging here now, or oh, I don't look. It's our best and worst enemy. It really is. It's unfortunate. I wish there was an answer, but I guess the only answer is to just not be on it as much as any more than you absolutely need to be, but we're addicted to it. I mean, I'm sitting here with my phone beside me because, you know, I can't be 10 feet without it. There's got to be a better path.
Sure. We are social beings, and we pushed ourselves into these non-social worlds of working in a cubicle, working even work at home is a non-social experience. I mean, we're really mucketing it right now, and you have to manage and design your life. And menopause, I mean, I ask every woman, where are you going to find the time to cook now that you realize it's so important? Social media. They're like, I need to do this anyway, Kitty. I need to change. I don't really want it in my life anymore. I want the core set of people that I love, and that's all that matters. And I will just take that out and start loving myself.
When I was really deep, the one interesting thing that happened to me is when I was really deep into the beginning throes of menopause and I could not function, and I thought I was mentally impaired. Like I thought I was getting dementia, or that I was going to have to, I even said to a doctor, I think I need to be put in a long-term care facility. I was so far gone in my mind. And I remember I could not be a part of social media even anymore. I could not see anybody else functioning well. It just hurt me so badly. So I had deleted all of those applications like Facebook, Instagram, all of that stuff. And I remember that I would constantly grab my phone anyway, even though I didn't have them anymore. I would every minute. And when I realized what I was doing, oh my goodness, what we have done to ourselves. The addiction was severe. It took me probably almost 2 months to not have that reaction about not having it. And now I don't need it. I only recently put it back on so I can see other family members and what they're doing, but I don't interact on it. I learned I was away from it for about a year. And now I feel a little more confident because I've got a little bit of myself back, but I still don't use it as a tool to promote myself as many people do, to show perfect lives that probably aren't so perfect. But we don't realize that because we see that and we want to emulate it, and we can't because it's not really true, because perfection doesn't exist. It just doesn't.
And that's the best thing about us. We're so unique and so beautifully imperfect. I mean, it is exciting. I meet all these women in the depths of despair. And honestly, even without the hormones, we can do a lift. We can lift that. We can take that away. And they make their own plans. They build their own plans for their future to make sure they are healthy and happy. Everyone has a vision for it. If I ask somebody, okay, you wake up tomorrow and all these problems are solved, what's different about your life? and they can go right into it. They're just like, I'm there. What do I need to do? And it's just, that's the power of coaching, is that we get to explore those kinds of things and unload, because the world is loading on us. It's horrible.
It's your opportunity to stop just existing and start thriving. Because I literally, for 2.5 years, just existed. It was the most surreal experience I've ever been through. I just literally existed. Yesterday, I thrived. Today, I thrived. Tomorrow, I will thrive, and I will keep thriving, because it's clearing.
It's clearing.
Yeah. Could use some sun because the clouds aren't clearing, as you can see.
Yeah.
But the fog is clearing. The world is becoming open again. I no longer feel like I'm going to shelter in place anymore. It's huge. And I'm trying not to cry, because it really is a really big thing. And so many big moments have come in the last 2 weeks that it's overwhelming in a good way. Like when you ask me, what are you grateful for? Oh my gosh, my list is really this long.
And it's this long now. And when we first met, I'm trying to think of when that was, maybe a month ago, month and a half.
Mm-hmm.
You might have had trouble thinking of a thing. You might have said,
I was on diet. It was all I could think of. It's got to be my diet. It's got to be. It's got to be something I ate.
I think it's just one thing. That's what, but I don't know why. We just are watching one expert on YouTube and we say it's one thing. And I say everything affects everything. You're playing with lots of levers, like 10 major levers, and you're going to pull on them until you feel good.
You have to realize everything needs to be on the table. You may only try one thing to baby step into it, or put your toe into the water. But then you've got to realize that once you've got that one thing going, you still got to play all the cards, because it's just so much more can come to you. So much more.
There's so much upside. See, that's the thing, is that people, they just don't know. I don't know why. There's just no money in it. Capitalism is not shoving this down your throat. Google won't even let me advertise because I use the names of drugs, and they think I'm a drug maker. And so I can't advertise. I'm going to try and find a different way around our beautiful algorithms. Algorithms are limiting the truth and getting the advertisers' information to you. So
but it'll let you spout natural products that, I mean, there are some good that can help you. Obviously, I do take some of those too, but these miracle remedies that they're allowed to advertise 24/7, and it's pushed at you, TikTok, Instagram, all of that stuff. And then you're desperate and you believe it, and they allow these people to advertise it, but they don't allow you to advertise what is actually medically proven.
Right. And there's no, because they're generic drugs, there's no profit margin for anyone. It's pennies, right? So they don't advertise. So you're never going to get the full story. And
Well,
that's why
I'm not even allowed to advertise. We don't have commercials like you do. We don't have any of that stuff. The only time I know about an actual drug, like its name or something, is if I'm watching an American channel and a commercial comes on, or I wouldn't know.
No, it's a good thing you don't know about all those drugs, because those drugs are approved when they work for 5% of the people that take them. They don't have to work for everybody. They're given as a prescription to everybody, but it doesn't have to work for you. I'm sorry. Our drug situation is really horrible. They don't have to be effective, and they can hurt your brain.
And it kind of, and women, they just need to realize that there is no one path the same. Every single woman on the planet will take a different HRT, whatever approach. we're all going to have different needs. We're all going to feel it different. We're all going to absorb it different. We're all going to want to use it differently. It's just the way it is. We're not the same. So just because you talk to somebody and they take this, that doesn't mean that's going to be for you. And you have to realize that too. You have to figure out what's right for you.
Yeah, I try to talk about sweet spot dosing.
Yeah.
Because you're going to experiment low, medium, high, medium, low. Sorry.
Different times a day, what works best. My HRT is split up throughout the day now.
Yeah.
And it works so much better for me now. And
Yes.
I kept saying, I feel like
You're dipping. You felt like you were dipping. You're falling into a hole if you use it once a day.
I worked out, especially if I was at the gym. I come back and then immediately I get this like really bad. I was getting the really bad post-workout fatigue. Not like you've had a good workout and your limbs are just a little tired, like serious brain fog fatigue. And
Right.
that's when I talked to you about, I think I need to take this at different parts of the day, because this feels like I'm dipping in and out rather than just having a thorough,
Yes.
consistent amount spreading through me. I think my body just pushes it through faster because it only has a certain shelf life in your body per day, 18 hours or something like that. And I think I said to you, I feel like I'm getting through it faster. So I talked to my doctor about that, and she's like, well, yes, that's could be happening. So let's split it up this way, this way, this way. So now I take it like at different times throughout the day, consistently at the same times, but at different points and different measurements. Oh my goodness, yesterday and today, no fatigue day.
Right.
You need to find what works right for you. And
Right.
it's a practice. And it may
Yeah.
change a little bit here and there over the years. I imagine that some people who are just, going into menopause now, they might not need as much estrogen or whatever they're taking. And then as they progress and get further into it, they probably need to add a bit more. And people are surprised when you have to add in. Well, it's because you're losing more. So you need to put it back in. Yeah, there's no cookie cutter version.
Right. And so experimentation is critical, having a guide with you while you're experimenting, because your doctor they're not going to feed back to you. They're not going to give you the listening space you need to come up with your own solutions.
I'm not going to bounce ideas off each other.
Doesn't happen. So what would you tell a woman who's just now having her first hot flash? What is the way to get them through this journey towards a vitality day?
Well, I would say if you're having your first hot flash or your first night sweat, don't just shake it off. Just don't. It's not worth it. Start researching it right away. Know your options. Find out what's out there. Look for a doctor that is a specialist in menopause. I don't suggest going to you probably will have to go to your family doctor if you're in Canada, because you'll need a referral in order to get to the specialist. And don't let anyone dissuade you. Like my doctor, well, why do you need that menopause specialist? Because I need a specialist and this is where I want to go. Just do your research. Don't take it lightly. It's only going to get worse from that first moment. There's no one flash and it's all gone. That
Right.
is a wives' tale.
Right.
You need to take it seriously, because you want to if you want to remain yourself, you don't want to lose yourself, and you don't want disease to affect your life. You need to take it seriously, because you are going to be, now that you've had your first one, you are going to be like this and getting worse for the rest of your life. It's not for a few months or a few years. It is for the rest of your life. So get it under control now. And at least if you start working at it now, you already know how your body's react. So when you go into full menopause, you already have tools to start utilizing. You can start banging out things and you won't have to suffer like I did. You won't have to you won't have to suffer. No one should have to suffer. Please just talk it out, reach out, get help, do your research. Don't take it lightly.
Right. I think this is the biggest thing I've ever done for my health in my entire life. In my entire life. And the only way I figured out all the science was to play with it, experiment, create my own personal plan, and then see how I felt. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I'm happy. I wake up every day. I'm excited to be here. You know, I'm ready to help others. I'm ready to kind of change the world, do big things. My life is not over. It is not over. It is just beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're going to help many people. You absolutely are.
Well, I'm certainly hoping to. I think one of the things that I'm being encouraged to do is to create a class so that it does combine some of the elements that you're talking about, where you have groups of women who are all kind of going through it at the same time, presenting research, doing some activity sheets, and then mixing in the one-on-one coaching so that we build the personal plan and we move them along quickly, right? We move them along really in a compressed fashion. We go as fast as the system will allow so that you bounce right back out the other side into vitality.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So
I think if I had
not
access to a class, I would have joined. It
Yeah.
would have helped me so much. And also it's the camaraderie.
Yeah.
Other people like you. It's you feel very much alone in your journey. And I think if you can create something that people don't have to feel alone, it will change so many people's lives.
That's why I'm hoping it has to have the personal coaching component, because the personal plan is the ultimate, but it needs the community piece where people are stepping forward. They see the process. They know they're in step 1, step 2, step 3. So they're like, oh, there is a logical sequence to this. And then there's all these experiment options. Like I think for sleep, I sent you 40 options and you went through, check, doing it, check. Oh, this one, this one might work. And
Yes.
You tried it and sleep was enhanced. So it's just one of those things where I want to explore the research in groups, like little lectures, and take on questions and hear what people are thinking, and then share the research that I've done, and then build action plans for every woman.
That's wonderful. Can't wait.
It's a little late for you, but you actually came in, you built your own community by going to that one-off experience, and then you built your action plan getting to experts.
Yep.
Women who know the science. That's good.
But it also, you know, just because someone's past that part doesn't mean they're not always going to come up against other things. For me now, my latest issue is all of a sudden I'm gaining weight, yet I'm working out all the time. You know, I'm having the same battle as everybody else. You might not believe me, but I am. And so
Sure.
I could maybe have to jump back in to understand, you know, what's the piece of the puzzle that's missing now. All this goodness happened to me, but this thing now seems out of whack. How do I pull that back in? The thing is, it's for the rest of your life. So you're always going to need to rework, tweak, you know, and figure out what's going on now and come up with a new sort of pathway forward. It's not, yes, I'm a million times better, but there's still a million things, that little tiny things that will need to be adjusted along the way.
Yeah, that's why, I mean, there's only 7 of the board certified coaches that are working on menopause in the United States. And I'm like, I probably need to train coaches. I mean, it's just
Absolutely.
so much work to be done.
Yeah. And we need to help each other. If you ever want a guest speaker, let me know. I can come in and talk.
Oh, that'd be
They can
fun.
ask questions and I can say, yeah, that happened to me.
Yep.
You're
the
not
thing.
alone. You're
Well,
not
I'm
crazy.
excited. Let's stay in touch, because it sounds like you've got this core learning and it's changing your life. And
It
then
is.
you're going to go apply it to hopefully helping others, you know?
Yes. Today, my journey starts with, well, tomorrow, actually, I'm starting an H2O journey. That is my goal, to work at making sure that this happens every single day. Because now that I'm in menopause, I am like the desert.
Yeah.
I'm dry everywhere. My eyes, my mouth, my ears, my skin, everything's dry that never used to be. So
Right.
new goal, H2O goal. So for the next 30 days, that's what I'm working on. Sometimes you
And
got to bring it down to one thing.
well, often the sensation of thirst, the signals get crossed when you get older. So we have an extra step to be conscious of our water. It's
Yeah.
a new thing for a menopausal woman that no one's going to tell you. You'll look at your skin and you'll go, oh, it's so dry and ruddy. What's going on? You know, it's acting totally differently. It's losing elasticity. All this is happening and you're frustrated, but you don't really realize, oh, I'm not even getting the signals to drink anymore.
Mhm.
So this is, I mean, there's forgiveness there for yourself once you realize, holy smoke.
You're
These
right
things-
about the signal. That
Yeah.
what you're just, it's like ding. Yes, because I used to be a big water drinker, and in the last few months, that signal turned off, and I would go all morning without drinking water, and then all of a sudden I'm like cotton mouth, can't. It's horrible. I'm so dry. My eyes,
Right.
my fingers feel pudgy, and it's
Yeah.
because I lost the signal to drink.
And
So
I'm listening to the energy in
focus.
your voice right now. That's
Yeah.
the power of sharing it with another person. That's the power where you're just like, oh my gosh, that's right. You build your awareness. And when your perception and awareness changes, you're like, oh, you know what? There's some science here. And I'm just like everybody else. We're all going to be on this journey. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. You're not alone, Melody.
definitely not. I'm glad to
So-
have met you. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you again for this. I will try to do some editing on it and I will send you a link to it first before anything goes on the YouTube channel. So you can see it, approve it, or tell me to change some things.
I would
Editing.
just make sure that you take away all my babbling, because I do tend to go on and on.
No, you've had a life experience and it's very valuable.
All right. And I know for a fact I'll be back when I have my next array of questions.
You're always welcome.
Okay. Thank you so much.
All
By
right,
the way,
take care.
that gorgeous sweater, that
Oh.
pig just pops right off. It's
Do you
lovely
know
color for you.
this is from the 80s. It is thrifted. And that is one of my hobbies, is thrifting 1980s clothes because I just love the color.
Well, the
It's-
colors just pop. It's wonderful. Good for you.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to go. Take
All right.
care.
Yep. See ya.
Bye-bye.
Bye.